So let me start with this. I've worked at CoreCivic for 32 years, and this is truly one of the most exciting periods in my career with the company.
You know what's funny? Not like funny, haha funny, but funny like when you realize your entire country is basically a vending machine for human beings and only two corporations carry quarters. Like imagine if Costco decided to get into people warehousing, the people warehouse base, people warehousing business, bulk detention. Buy 10,000 beds, get 2,000 free. Except this is real. It's happening and you're paying for it. And before I get into this, I'm Lauren Paritra. If you are on mobile, please hype this video. If not, hit subscribe, drop a like, share this video with a friend, because what you're gonna hear isn't shocking. It's something that every American is paying for right now, whether they know it or not. We're funding a system so absurd that Wall Street literally gets mad when we don't arrest enough people fast enough. I'm not making that up. That's real. This is what's happening. Stick with me. So $9 million, that's how much flows into private detention companies every single day to keep immigrants locked up. Daily, not annually, not per facility, every day. $9 million goes straight into the hands of billionaires to keep people in cages, which if you're keeping score at home means we're spending more per day on detention than most small countries spend on healthcare. But we can't seem to get any of that. Don't have paid family leave, don't have student loan forgiveness, but somehow we always have money for other people's wars and to keep people in cages. But sure, tell me again about how fiscal responsibility is just standing for that, while we're literally running a human subscription service for corporations. Right now, 65,000 people estimated are sitting in ICE detention facilities, deterrent camps. Two corporations, GEO Group and CoreCivic, run most of them. These aren't just any contractors. They are the two largest for-profit prison and detention companies in America. They build the facilities, they staff them, they manage them, and they hold the majority of people in ICE custody. Majority of the people stolen and captured by ICE. They charge the federal government between $130 and $200 per person per day, per bed per day. That's the model. The more beds they fill, the more money they make. Some contracts even have minimum bed guarantees, minimum occupancy levels the government agrees to pay for whether the beds are filled or not. Think about that for a second. The government is paying for empty beds just in case, like a gym membership you never use, except instead of feeling guilty about not going to the gym, you're paying corporations, we are paying corporations to maintain empty cages for humans who haven't been arrested or stolen yet. You and I, the taxpayer, that's who pays. $3 billion a year to keep human beings in cages. Let's talk about those corporations for a second. The day after Donald Trump was elected, GEO Group and CoreCivic stock prices doubled.
Having just wrapped up a strong 2024, we're anticipating significant growth opportunities, perhaps the most significant growth in our company's history over the next several years.
Investors looked at the phrase mass deportations and they saw dollar signs, and they were correct. These companies had been preparing. They had donated to political campaigns. They'd positioned themselves exactly for this moment. And when it came, they were ready with the empty facilities and the expansion plans. Like a pizza place getting a heads up that the Super Bowl is coming to town, except the pizza is human detention and the Super Bowl is a campaign that promises to deport millions of people. In their summer earnings calls, executives could barely contain themselves.
Never in our 42-year company history have we had so much activity and demand for our services. ICE cites a need for nearly 100,000 beds and the administration's goal of removing 1 million aliens annually.
CoreCivic CEO said, "Our business is perfectly aligned with the demands of this moment we are in. We are in an unprecedented environment." GEO Group's chairman called it an unprecedented opportunity. An opportunity.
We believe CoreCivic is exceptionally well-positioned operationally and financially to meet what we expect to be a sharp acceleration in demand from our partners, particularly our key federal partners, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, and the United States Marshal Service.
Human suffering is an opportunity. Write that down. Put it on a motivational poster. Put it on his fucking grave when the time comes. CoreCivic reportedly reported $538 million in revenue in the second quarter of 2025. That's a 10% increase from last year. GEO Group brought in $636 million in the same period. These aren't struggling mom and pop operations. These are corporate giants running at what they call record high utilization.
The change in presidential administration on January 20th has ushered in significant policy and legislative changes that directly impact our business. And I would like to run through a few of those that are the most significant. Upon inauguration, President Donald Trump issued 9 executive actions intended to secure the borders of the United States and remove illegal immigrants.
The cages are full with people. Here's how fast they're growing. Since January of 2025, GEO Group reactivated 4 detention facilities, 6,600 beds. They expect those 4 facilities alone to generate $240 million per year. One 15-year contract is in Newark, New Jersey, $1 billion for a single 1,000-bed facility.
President Trump's push to get federal ICE officials to detail undocumented workers involves keeping immigrants in a private, for-profit detention center. The opposition trying to gather support against the large facility that is costing taxpayers $1 billion for the 15-year contract. Here's Sonia Rincon.
In ICE's announcement that Delaney Hall would be reopening as a federal immigration processing and detention center, the agency's director noted that its size, with 1,000 beds, and proximity to a major airport will help it pursue the president's mandate to, as he put it, remove illegal aliens from our communities.
This makes it one of the largest detention facilities on the entire East Coast.
Just a few weeks ago here in Newark, an ICE raid rattled members of the large immigrant population here.
On the spot, they quarantined and detained a U.S. citizen and a veteran and questioned the validity of their status.
Immigrant advocates and elected leaders here in Newark are sounding the alarm, not just about the message the administration is sending this city, but about the company running the facility. Senator Cory Booker says this 15-year, $1 billion contract, announced the very same day that GEO Group released its fourth quarter earnings, is not about making New Jerseyans safer or fixing our broken immigration system. Instead, it demonstrates this administration's driving motive to enrich its favored corporations while wasting taxpayer dollars.
GEO Group was also the first corporation to max out their donations to the Trump campaign in the last election cycle. They're hugely incentivized to pursue private immigration centers and private prisons across the country.
The mayor of Newark is also pushing back, saying without satisfying city property use requirements, inspections, and permits, Delaney Hall cannot lawfully open in Newark at this time. Regardless of the process, an immigrant detention center is not welcomed here.
CoreCivic told ICE that they can provide 30,000 additional beds if they needed. 30,000. They're not even at capacity yet. They're just ready, standing by with those empty cages, waiting for the phone to ring. And here's where it gets really dark. Despite all this growth, both companies' stock prices tanked. GEO Group went from 36 per share on Trump's second day in office to around 16 by the end of 2025. Why? Because Wall Street expected faster growth. The detention machine didn't expand fast enough for investors. Think about that for a second. The problem, according to Wall Street, isn't that we're detaining record numbers of people and destroying the lives of families. It's that we're not detaining them quickly enough. These companies got a bad Yelp review from investors. Great Cage's terrible customer acquisition strategy, only 68,000 people detained, 75% of them no criminal record, when we expected hundreds of thousands. We expected at least 100,000. 2 stars for you. GEO Group has nearly 4,700 empty beds sitting idle. CoreCivic has over 7,000 just waiting, ready to be filled with human beings the moment the arrests catch up to capacity. They're literally holding space for future detainees like they're saving seats at a movie theater. The detention population has exploded. In January 2025, there were 39,000 people in detention. By December, 68,000. This is the highest in American history. So spare me the Obama bullshit. ICE wants 100,000 beds. Some analysts think that they could hit 200,000 by the end of Trump's term. Industry executives discussed on earnings calls how deporting 1 million people a year would require arresting 3,000 people per day just to maintain capacity. They had a model for it, a theoretical framework. Guys in suits sitting in conference rooms doing the math about how many humans they need to steal per day to fill their facilities. It's like they're planning a music festival, except instead of bands and porta potties, it's people stolen off the streets. If we want to hit our Q4 targets, we're going to need 3,000 arrests per day. Has anyone talked to marketing about this? Get Kristi Noem on a fucking horse. The math checks out, by the way. More arrests equal more detention equals more money. It's elegant. If you ignore the fact that the variables in question are real people, tax-paying people. One analyst said it plainly. There aren't enough criminal immigrants in the United States that they can catch to fill those facilities. So this is all about caging a bunch of peaceful people who aren't bothering anyone. That's not a quote from an activist. That's the director of immigration studies at the CatGo Institute explaining the business model. An administration requested over $170 billion for immigration enforcement expansion. Much of that will flow directly into private prison company accounts, which is fine. I'm sure they'll use it responsibly. Here's my favorite part. While we're paying $152 per day per person to these companies, those companies pay the detained people, the ones doing the cleaning, the people captured in the internment camps doing the cooking, laundry, $1 per day, $1. GEO Group is fighting lawsuits all the way to the Supreme Court to avoid paying stolen immigrants minimum wage. They're billing the government $152 per person per day while paying those same people $1 a day to work. This is slavery. The margins on that are, well, they're good to them. They're very good. That's a 15,000% markup on labor costs. If your local coffee shop had those margins, they'd be charging you $300 for a latte made by somebody they paid a nickel. And they'd be fighting you in court suggesting that maybe they should pay the barista minimum wage. That's not just wages they're cutting. In these facilities, they're plagued with allegations of understaffing, inadequate medical care. People are dying, poor food quality. When your business model is a profit per bed, every dollar spent on actual care is a dollar that doesn't go towards shareholders. The incentive structure is clear. Minimize costs, maximize occupancy. The people being detained aren't who you'd expect. In December, ICE detained 68,000 people nationwide. Only a quarter had ever been convicted of a crime, including low-level offenses. Another 25 had criminal cases pending. That means half of the people locked up haven't been convicted of anything. Since January 2025, the number of non-criminal immigrants in detention has surged. People are being pulled from their communities, from their homes, from their schools, from their places of work, separated from their families, locked in facilities run by for-profit corporations, not because they're dangerous, but because there's money to be made. Follow the incentives, follow the money every time. They'll tell you everything. These detention centers aren't hotels. Allegations of inhumane treatment all over the place, overcrowding, lack of medical care. I've talked to members of Congress who have been at these facilities, understaffing. There's reports of one bathroom per 18 people. There's reports of people being forced to drink water from the toilet. People are held in former prison tent camps converted into motels. Some facilities face ongoing legal challenges for mismanagement and human rights violations. Shocking. But here's the thing about a for-profit detention center. These aren't bugs. They're the features. Cut costs on food, healthcare, and staffing. That's how you increase profit margins. That's how you spend more on, the more you spend on actual care, the less money flows into investors. I've seen more outrage over the shelter conditions in Los Angeles. Louisiana used to have one of the highest incarceration rates in the country. Then they passed criminal justice reforms. Prison populations declined. Great news, right? Except now, Louisiana is a hub for immigrant detention. When the state prison population went down, those facilities needed more people to stay in business. They needed to fill facilities. They can't have empty beds. That's just bad for business. It's like when Spirit Airlines discovers an empty route, someone's got to monetize that capacity, except instead of charging you $47 to bring a backpack or to use the loo, they're charging a federal government $152 a day to warehouse human beings. Again, I'm Lauren Paritra. If this made you angry, if this opened your eyes or expanded your perspective to something you didn't know before, then do something about it. Share this video with a friend, share it on your Facebook, subscribe to my channel, hit that notifications bell, get this information in front of people, because the only way the system changes is if enough of us know about it and get mad about it and demand accountability. This ends when enough of us have had enough. These corporations profiting from this are counting on us to not pay attention. Let's prove them wrong.